South African Airways business rescue practitioners say they've no further funds for rescue efforts and that the airline cannot survive beyond the end of the month. The practitioners say they don't have enough money available to continue honoring the obligations of SAA to its employees beyond the 30th of April. According to them, two options remain: a wind-down process or placing the company into liquidation. The wind-down process is dependent on employees accepting the termination of their employment by mutual consent within a given time frame. Government met with some of the unions representing employees at SAA on Tuesday. It was made clear at the meeting that the airline can no longer depend on financial support from government after it turned down another 10 billion rand bailout for SAA. Asian markets trended lower today, and it follows an apparent rally in U.S. market session, which quickly dissipated. And so many unknowns around the coronavirus and its economic impact continue to weigh heavily. In Japan, the Nikkei share ended down over 0.86%, 19.2, and in Hong Kong, the stocks were also under pressure, with the Hang Seng Index losing 0.6% on the day, and of course 23,831. Mainland China got hit a bit harder, the Shanghai Composite Index declining by 1.06%. And of course, we now get a view on how the markets are doing locally. We have Chris Gillmore on the line. He's an independent analyst. Thank you very much for coming through, Chris.
Good afternoon, Colin.
All right. Firstly, what's your reaction on the intervention of government in some of the projects that need to be looked into regarding the impact of COVID-19 here in the country?
We have to bear in mind that this is a relief package more than anything else. A lot of people have referred to it as a stimulus package, but in fact it's relief more than anything else because, as Tito Mboweni said, this is really directed at helping the most vulnerable in society, people who've lost their jobs, people who've never perhaps even had jobs, people who are really desperately at looking to try and just make ends meet. So, and we're talking about many, many people here. So, with a total combined package, fiscal and monetary, of 800 billion, it's fascinating. If you go back to the budget in February, I mean, we were tinkering around with 5 billion here and 10 billion there. Now we're coming with huge numbers, absolutely massive numbers. And I mean, the government, the finance minister also made the point that in terms of getting lifelines into the World Bank, not so much the World Bank, but the IMF and the BRICS Development Bank, South Africa has paid its dues over many, many years and is entitled to go there. And, quite unapologetic about going in there and talking about getting financing from many of these institutions. So, look, it might have been lacking in a bit of detail to an extent, but I think we'll get more when he does his emergency budget in the next few days. But I think, as I was saying to you offline earlier, Colin, Tito has been conspicuous by his absence in the past few weeks. And, he's got a lot of gravitas. And I think when he speaks, people listen. And he's got the ear of an awful lot of international institutions, as we just mentioned a few of them. And I think it will give a lot of comfort to a lot of people out there. We've missed him.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's talk about SAA. I mean, things are not looking good. Just when we thought the airline's wings were clipped, now the unions are saying they will have none of it.
Yeah, look, are we talking SAA here? I
yes,
didn't miss.
Yes.
I missed the first part. Yeah. If you look at the global airline industry, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, 9/11 pales into insignificance compared with this. Every single airline I can think of is operating at maybe 80 to 85, maybe 90% below normal. We're looking at planes being parked in boneyards in the US, places in France, in Spain, and maybe Emirates is looking to get back to a little bit of normality next month. But it's going to take months and months and months, maybe well into next year, before we get anything that even remotely approximates normality. Against that kind of background, I'm absolutely stunned that the unions have not quite grasped the real politic of what's going on with SAA. Already, SAA was deeply mortally wounded long before COVID-19. And I think the Minister of SOEs, of state-owned enterprises, Praveen Gordhan, made it abundantly clear last week that there is no more money. And the business rescue practitioners have said, look, that's it, there is no more money coming out. I've always been of the opinion that there is a way out of this, but only from a branding perspective. SAA is a wonderful brand. I think it's got a lot of great brand value. At an operational level, it's dead in the water. It's not coming back, in my humble opinion. But from a brand's perspective, I think that it can still be made to be seen in the skies again, but you'd have to have another operator doing it, the likes of a Turkish or an Emirates or an Etihad, that type of thing, an operator that has deep pockets. SAA has got no more money. It's got no more money coming to it. So if you want to have something that kind of resembles SAA in some way, shape or form, I think you would have to do it on a kind of franchising basis, but not at an operational level. That's gone.
All right. Chris, I'm left with just a few minutes. I just wanted to get the highlights of how the markets have been performing, especially on the local front. How has the JSE been looking, and what has been the reaction of the rand, looking at the oil as well as gold? What have the trends been like in your observation?
Yeah, the local market's pretty flat today, Colin. It's maybe flat to slightly down. Financials were down earlier. They're moving up a little bit now. The European markets were down. You alluded to it earlier when you talked about the Far Eastern markets. There was a lot of disappointment last night on Wall Street with the realization that Gilead Sciences, the company that had promised to have this wonderful, I've forgotten how you actually pronounce it, Remdesivir or something like that. In early trials, apparently they flopped, according to the WHO in Geneva. So that kind of dulled the appetite of investors last night, and that spilled over into Europe today. So our market, as I say, was slightly down to pretty much flat. You know, our market's going to be dictated by really what happens on global markets, and particularly the US market. The US market's had a terrific run in the past 2 or 3 weeks. My own opinion is it's a rally in a bear market, and unless and until we find something that kind of approximates to a vaccine or a treatment, I think markets are going to remain incredibly fragile and incredibly volatile.
Right, Chris, thank you very much for making time to speaking to us. Chris Gillmore is an independent analyst and, of course, repping the markets for us right here on SA Today. We're going to take a break, and when we return, Palisa will be back at the top of the hour, and we'll have the last round of SA Today. Don't